Honorable Martha Karua, welcome to Hey Mama. We're
Thank
so
you.
happy to have you.
Thank you for having me, and I'm glad to be here.
Yes, and you look beautiful as always.
Oh, thank you.
Do you-
I thought I should have said that to you first.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anytime I see you, I'm like, does she ever have a bad day? There's no day I've seen you where you don't look beautiful.
Maybe you haven't seen me often. Everybody has a hard day.
Yeah.
Sometime, yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Awesome. I want us to start with a quick fire segment here where you tell me what you prefer, tea or coffee?
Tea.
Like me.
Although we grow both.
Yes.
Yes.
Ugali with nyama choma or chapati madondo?
Madodo ni gani hiyo?
Madondo ni beans.
Okay. Chapati madodo.
Okay. Boda boda or matatu?
Both.
Both? Okay.
Yes.
Favorite Kenyan holiday destination?
Favorite? Mombasa. Yeah.
Okay. If you are not from Kirinyaga, which county would you love to call home?
Maybe I would come from Homa Bay.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
I actually think if I had all the money, I would have a holiday home.
In Homa Bay?
Yeah, by the water.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Music, reggae or R&B?
I would say both, but reggae. Let me,
Yeah.
if I have to choose one, let
Yeah.
it be reggae.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite reggae artist?
Bob Marley.
Yeah. Yeah. His music
Yeah.
is really good.
It lives on and it will live on.
Yeah. Yeah.
The beat is good. The lyrics have meaning.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They wrote
Yeah.
very good music.
Yeah.
All right. So let's dive right into it. You've had such an incredible journey from Kirinyaga going all the way to a global stage. Tell us about that little girl in Kirinyaga. What was life like?
I think life was normal for any rural child. You help in the home. If you're not going to school, you have younger siblings, you'll either be babysitting or carrying a baby on your back and playing with the baby on your back, because children will always play. Making your own toys, bean bags when I learned how to sew, or making baby dolls with dried banana stems or leaves. And that's it. Or even making your own hula hoop from some green, greenery in the garden. Or imitating my mom and granny, making my own garden for greens. I don't know why they always did them round. So I would clear my own area to plant my own greens, mostly stinging nettle, the way I'd seen my mom and my granny do. Yeah, doing all those things.
Yeah.
Following adults, mirroring them, all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you from a big family?
Yeah, I'm from a big family. We lived in the same compound as my grandmother, and her daughters married around us. So always there'll be a stream of people in our home. There'll be my cousins, there'll be other relatives. So sort of growing up in a communal setting.
Yeah. Did you ever imagine that you'd one day be a voice in Kenyan politics? You're known as the Iron Lady. Was that girl in Kirinyaga, did she have a premonition or an idea that she would ever be in that space?
At some stage in my life, because when I was in primary, after going to court with my dad, I sort of loved what I saw, the attention I saw everybody paying and the difference they were paying to the judge, in quotes. The judge is the local magistrate, and I wished to be one, and I voiced it to my dad. So although I didn't exactly know the meaning of what I was saying, you can see I professed what I wanted to be. And I did become a magistrate, a lawyer first, a magistrate, went to private practice. And I remember when I was in secondary school, telling a classmate of mine called Damaris, whom I lost touch with. She was from Kandara, and I keep saying, Damaris, if you hear this, show up someplace.
Yes.
I told her she'll be the member for Kandara, and I'll be the member for Kirinyaga East. That's what Gishogo was called then. So I used to love listening to Leo Katika Bunge on KBC, the only radio then. And I would hear how the debates were, in Parliament. And I voiced it that wish to be a member of Parliament. So I can say that God has been gracious. I've been able to live some of my dreams, not all of them. Yeah. I'm still alive and going.
Yes.
Until, the day God decides that this is the limit. So I'm still moving. Yeah. There was that urge to do something, to make a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, and that urge is what I want you to tell us about, that made you decide, I want to stand for justice and for human rights. What do you feel that moment was for you, where you decided, this is what I want to use my voice and my life for?
I think just one thing leads to another. When I started private practice in 1987.
Yeah.
That's when I left the judiciary in July and immediately started my law firm. But even then, even before then, when I was still a magistrate, I think I may not have realized it then, but my approach was to look at things through a social justice lens. I remember feeling that the people brought to court for brewing traditional liquor, what seen as illicit brew, were victims of the socio-economic conditions. With nothing else to do, mothers forced to do those brews to raise their children and to be able to have accommodation and all that. And I felt that our governance and political system had not grown to where we could look after each other so that those who do not have jobs are cushioned and that the economy is expanded in a way that everybody has a chance. Yeah. And I used to be very sympathetic to those cases. Even the petty offenders, I was generally sympathetic, seeing them from a social justice lens. Fast forward, I've started practice. And you want to make money and to make ends meet. After all, that's why I left being a magistrate. My second baby was on the way. And I felt that my salary could not help me meaningfully contribute to my family. That's why I left. I had initially wanted to make a career on the bench. But I needed also to earn an honest living. And I went out to do that. Now, when I came out, I realized that law is not practiced in a vacuum. You don't practice your profession in a vacuum. Okay. It's within a social justice and economic context. And I realized that the governance of the country affected the environment in which I lived, the environment in which I worked. And when President Moi then developed an appetite for swallowing institutions, first affiliating KOTU to KANU, the ruling party, then affiliating the largest women's organization, Maendeleo, it became KANU Maendeleo ya Wanawake. And then he voices in a meeting, public meeting, that he's now going to affiliate the Law Society of Kenya. As young advocates, we started now making statements, calling out, and pushing back. Yeah. And that's how my activism started, realizing that we needed better governance to improve the environment we worked on. Correct. And of course, I was attracted to acting for the downtrodden, victims of politically instigated cases, who at one time included a fellow lawyer, the late Miruge Kariuki, charged with treason alongside Koigi wa Wamwere. When the wife was sent to me, to my office, by a senior lawyer who thought that being senior and focus would be on him, he would endanger himself by representing him. I was tempted to send Mrs. Mirugi away because I felt I was stung by the fact that my senior colleague thought my life was worthless. His was worth more to protect during that time. But then I realized that I'll not be punishing my colleague, but my colleague who sent Mrs. Mirugi, but Mirugi himself and the wife, because then we are sending her from chamber to chamber looking for representation. So I said, why not me? Let me get into the case. I got into the case. I was able to see how the courts were treating the accused shoddily, how the prosecution was persecuting instead of prosecute. And the fight in me came out, and we were defending them. And maybe sensitizing me more to the repression that was going on and pushing me towards defending those who are victims of the system. So apart from that case, I found myself taking on cases that whose accused persons needed support to push back the system. Yeah. And before I knew it, it became full-fledged activism.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and you've actually answered my next question, because I wanted to know, how did you get into politics? But I see that your activism, you found yourself getting into it.
Yeah.
The path, one thing led to another, and you found yourself there. And you've touched a little bit on what was happening at the time of President Moi, and there's a moment in your career where you walked out of the late President Moi. Could you tell us a little about that moment and what it did or what it meant for your political career?
Okay, we are in Parliament. I've already been elected, and the relations between the opposition and the ruling party, KANU, is so bad that in Parliament, when people on the government side are talking, we boo in the opposition, and when we are talking, they boo. We don't even greet each other. Yeah. Eventually, it thawed, and we started greeting each other. So 2001, when I walked out of Moi, it's second term. And we are settling as government and opposition. And but Moi is still not behaving as though the opposition is legitimate. So they'll invite us to his meetings. He came to Kirinyaga. Obviously, they'd called us, invited us. My fellow MPs refused to go. We were all opposition in Kirinyaga, 4 of us. I went. I decided, let me meet him. After all, he's president. So I went to meet him at Karua Girls. And he was very happy to see me, poured lavish praise on me, and told the girls I was a worthy role model. Then when we went, he was entertained at the DCs for refreshments. I didn't go there. I went to wait for him at the stadium where he was going to go. And I was able to negotiate with his protocol to give me a good seat. After all, I was the only local MP present to meet him.
Right.
So I was seated 3 seats away from him. His people are talking fast, his party people. And the late Njiro starts insulting the opposition, and in particular the Democratic Party to which I belonged, telling us we are crazy to think that Kenya can be governed from Muthaya. That's a slur on the late President Kibaki, who is my party chairman. So I get very upset, and I draw Moi's attention, and I tell him to either stop his local chairman from such talk or to give me 5 minutes to defend my party and my chairman.
Right.
So he asked me, what am I going to say? And I tell him, I can't tell you what I'm going to say. I can only assure you as head of state, I'll give you due respect. I saw his body language. He said he will see, but I knew he wouldn't give me. So I just surveyed the area, and I saw where his podium was. There was an exit. But I realized if I go behind him, it will look like I'm attacking him.
Right.
So I quickly saw another exit on the left side, because the first one was on the right, about a meter away from his podium. And I realized that's the one I'll use, because I immediately made up my mind. I'll walk out, not on his people, on him. And sure enough, when he rose to speak, I gave him a minute to get to the podium. And I was already clutching my bag. I took the left exit, went in front of him, gave him a DP salute, and swaggered off. So I needed to do something. You cannot make noise, sort of spoil his rally. That's creating disturbance. I'm a lawyer, I know that.
Yes.
But no law commands me to listen to a president. I don't have to listen to him. So I can speak in words, and I did. I addressed that rally in words by walking out on him and reasserting my political position. And that spoke to the people. If I hadn't done that, I sit meekly when they are berating my party and my chairman, and we were going to elections of 2002, because this is 2001. I would have weakened my position and the position of the opposition in Kirinyaga.
Right.
Who would have seen that even if they elect us, we are nothing because we'll be walked on.
Yes.
So I reasserted our position, and it was beneficial, not to me. From Kirinyaga, he went to Meru. Mwiraria and Kiraito were given a chance to speak. I'm sure he didn't want another walkout.
Yeah.
From there, he went to Kakamega. Wamunyinyi was given a chance to speak, and his colleagues. And from then on, he never took the opposition for granted. We were given our space.
Yeah.
So my action, which people thought was foolish, because they were saying, you could have been killed. Yes, you can be killed, but you will still die one day.
Correct.
So instead of living in fear under the bed, let me die working.
And just seeing how the ripple effect of your actions, of your bravery in that moment, others continue to benefit from that one act coming from you. How have you been able to maintain your values under so much pressure from every corner? I can imagine, because we see you, we've seen your politics, we've followed over the years. I imagine that the pressure we see is not even a quarter of what you experience. How do you manage to maintain your values being in that political space?
I think one thing is that if one holds the view like I do, that I owe it to myself first and to others, because I have to do only what I'm comfortable with, what aligns with my beliefs. If I don't do that, then it would leave me hollow. Who would I be? So I do not struggle to be who I am. And even when there is pressure, if it's a matter of conscience, I will not do it, irrespective of the benefit of the punishment that will come. When I resigned as minister, I lost about half of my salary, because the ministerial salary and perks. I lost the official cars. I lost pay for workers at home, pay for guards and all that. And you lose privilege and prestige. But I was ready for it. I needed peace of mind, because being true to myself will give me peace of mind.
Right.
It was a load off my back. So I'm ready to live at a cost acceptable to me, not at whatever cost, at a cost acceptable to me. And I was quite happy in the back benches with the reduced pay. I was as active as ever. If you go to the record of the Hansard, you will see that I was among the top, if not the top performer in Parliament.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. In the year 2022, you became the first woman in Kenya's history to run for presidency as a running mate of His Excellency Raila Odinga. Tell us about that moment and what your thoughts were after that nomination.
I think it's not a first that can be talked about a lot. I'd already run for president.
Yes, you had.
In 2012, 2013. And the late Nobel laureate, Professor Wangari Maathai, and Charity Ngilu, both were the first to run for president in 1997. Nasrin Umar had also run for president. I don't know whether it was around the same time or it's 2012.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So being a deputy is not such a big fuss when we all had run for
Correct.
president before.
Yes.
The big thing about it was that it was a major coalition with very good chances of winning.
Yes.
And I dare say it actually won. That's what made it big.
Yeah.
Because it looked almost certain.
Yeah.
I wanted to run for governor, if you remember, and I'd already done some groundwork in Kirinyaga. Having my victory having been stolen in 2017, I had unfinished business in Kirinyaga, and I was working to run for governor. But pressure from the national scene for me to leave Kirinyaga and come to the national scene was too much. And I eventually capitulated and came. And when we joined Azimio, there was a lot of pressure and people felt I should be a running mate. And there was contest. And I emerged winner in that contest, was appointed, went on with it with a lot of determination. I actually say my feet never touched the ground from the day I was announced. I was forever on the move, campaigning with all that I could master. And we did a beautiful campaign. And I knew that it would have been possible to work well with Raila. Although now we have parted politically, I know that he's a person you can work with. Yeah.
Wow. I would like us to segue a bit from the politics and come to your motherhood journey, because here on Hey Mama, we really like to demystify what the motherhood journey is for different people. Tell us a bit about your family and your children. How many children do you have?
2.
Yes.
Yes.
A boy and a girl?
A girl and a boy. Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that, your motherhood journey. You know, a lot of women speak of challenges on motherhood, especially being new mothers. Some women say breastfeeding was difficult. Some, challenges are different one woman to another. What was it for you being a young mom, a new mom?
I wasn't all that young.
Yeah.
I got my first baby when I was 27.
Okay.
That's about almost 40 years ago. And I was ready for it. I learned during my pregnancy. It was a very comfortable pregnancy, the first one. I learned how to knit. I was a magistrate at Makadara, in charge of the station. And during lunchtime, because there's nowhere to go, that's a bit far, I would knit. Okay. So I was able to knit a few things, shawl, what. I learned how to knit for the first time.
Oh, wow.
So it was exciting, and I was looking forward. And the baby came, and after maternity leave, I didn't return to Makadara. I returned now to the Supreme Court building. We were calling it the law courts that time.
Yes.
So that's where I was posted. I was living somewhere near the State House area, and therefore I was able to go home for lunch to breastfeed my baby. Yeah. But for 3 months, I was home with the baby. It was exciting, and it's actually magical to watch a child grow. The first few months are the most magical because it's almost daily you see changes.
Yes.
And every week you see changes. You come out of the hospital with a child who is very, very tiny and fragile. Within a week of breastfeeding, you can see the cheeks begin to fill up. You can see the baby beginning to take shape. A month later, you can see the difference. So it is magical to watch a baby grow. And it is a very, very gratifying experience. Yes. And pregnancy is to feel your body, your baby move in your body. The first time I went to a doctor and they listened to the heartbeat, and it was there pounding. I don't know what that machine they use, and you can hear the heartbeat.
Yes.
You know, all that. It is, and you see, it's things you really can't say you know what is happening because it's happening inside of you.
Right.
You know, you can't see, but you can feel the life in you. You can feel the kicks, and you know that you're growing a baby inside of you.
Yeah.
These are the mysteries of life, and it's quite something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so motherhood, a great joy.
Yeah.
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 Every moment of it, even today. And you go through challenges because as you raise children, through teenage, there will be those run-ins, those fights, everything. But it's still gratifying. I don't think that you would wish for anything different.
Right.
And you appreciate your parents more because then you begin to see all that they did for you.
Yeah.
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 And they continue to do because both my parents are alive and they still behave like I need to be looked after. I'm still their daughter.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think what I would say is parenthood and motherhood is a full-time job.
Yes.
You don't retire from it. Yeah.
You don't. There's no taking a break.
Full-time job throughout your life. It will become less intense. But in one's head, it remains, and it is a full-time job. When I see my mother, when I see grandmothers, how they react, grandmothers older than us, than me, you will see how they are reacting and connecting with their children, with grandchildren. And now I'm blessed because grandchildren is motherhood a second time. You see?
Yeah.
You are seeing them through a different lens because you've gone through it before.
Yeah.
And it is such a blessing, such a joy. Yeah.
Do you see any, do your children have any of your personality traits?
A lot.
Tell us about that.
And my grandchildren too.
Oh, wow. Tell us a bit about that. How does that make you feel? It's almost like looking at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, you'll be saying don't, you'll be saying this, but you'll be saying in your heart, Allah.
I know where they get it from.
Yeah.
Yeah. It truly is a joy. How many grandchildren do you have?
4 and counting.
4 and
I
counting.
thank God. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And even the blessing that they get to see their great-grandparents as well is a blessing.
And
indeed.
I must say I have more grandchildren than the 4 coming directly from my son and daughter.
Yes.
Because we are a large family. We are closely knit. So you might come to my compound and see about 8 or more playing around there. Yeah, and it's such a joy.
Yeah, it is indeed.
Yeah.
How have you managed to balance the demands of being a full-time mother and also having this high-profile career?
May I say there is no real balance? We just try the best we can, and there's no manual. When my children were younger, I used to tag them along when I'm going to my harambes and meetings over the weekends. And even when we were going to women's meetings, FIDA Kenya, and also the League of Women Voters, I was tagging them along. Yeah, at one time, our children began to think that they were the FIDA members. So they would ask, when are we going to Mombasa for FIDA? When are we going out for FIDA again? Because we started in FIDA tagging our children to the outings, and it even later became, it was FIDA women and their children. It became FIDA women and their families. So sometimes you could see someone bring their mother-in-law, their mother, their husbands, and it became a family. Yeah, a large family.
A large family.
Yeah, so sometimes you involve them in what you're doing. As they grow up, they will refuse that, like going to Harambes. We started fighting because they resist coming. Then you realize they are growing and having different interests. You let them go. You try to come back. Juggling, going to parliament. My children are in school. I tried to go pick them personally so that you have that discussion as they come back. Go back to parliament because parliament would sit up to 6, you know. So you are trying to do many things, trying to take them to school in the morning. It's never enough. Nobody can boast of having achieved life-work balance. You just try, and you try the best way you know how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what matters, that you're every day that you're trying your best.
Yeah.
We learn, our children learn so much from us,
Yeah.
but we also learn things from our children. Is there something you would say you have learned, your children have taught you about life that nothing in the political space has taught you about life?
I think one thing you learn as the children go to teenage and all that is that you can't win most of those battles with them. And that's how life plays out. You win some you don't. And you learn that with them, it's more persuasion, more talk than giving the rule book, you know?
Yeah.
So they also teach you patience, because you will be there trying to be tough. They will be tougher than you. You won't tell them that they have won, but you will try to manage the situation. I think they teach us patience.
Yes.
Yeah, being a parent is a lesson in patience.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, you appreciate your parents even more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see the sacrifices they
And
made.
patience and
The
sacrifice.
patience. Yeah.
Because you must, when you are aligning your priorities, they come first.
Yeah.
Their needs come first. Everything else, when you're trying to plan their time, your time, you must somewhere in the corner note that this is happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you learn to juggle. You'll be called to school when you least expect. Sometimes you have so many plans and a child will fall ill. Sometimes there will be need to drop them somewhere where an activity is happening.
Yes.
I even learned to drop them, to go out, and to hang around those places, waiting to pick them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's a journey of patience,
Yes.
and also of trial and error.
Error. Yeah.
It's life. Yeah.
Yeah. As you said, there's no manual for
There's
it.
no manual. Yeah.
You learn on the job. If you were not a lawyer or a politician, what career do you think you would have pursued?
I would have done very well as a teacher. And I've taught before as an untrained. Actually, the way I feel my whatever teaching was somewhere. Yeah. If I wasn't going to make it to law,
Yes.
I would have been a teacher.
What would you teach?
Like my father.
Like your father, yeah.
Yeah.
What would you teach?
Any subject. When I last taught, I was teaching English. Yeah, I may not teach them the best pronunciation, but which Muzungu can pronounce Kikuyu the way I do?
You're right. Like that. Yeah. We all have moments where, we unwind and just take time for self-care. What's your self-care routine? How do you take care of yourself?
One of the self-care routines is having me time. Even in the midst of all those things, you must have me time. Maybe just watching a comedy.
Yeah.
Maybe just being glued to your book, reading it. Just some little time where you can, shake your hair down or just forget everything else and be introverted, or just sitting and watching. So me time is very, very important. Even when you're bringing up children, even when you're just busy at home, because we imagine only politicians are busy. Even motherhood is very, and managing a family is equally difficult.
Correct.
Sometimes at work, it can be very bad. Everybody needs me time to gather your wits around you, to recharge, and to be able to move on. So self-care, me time first.
Yeah.
The second one is watching what you eat. I'm not always faithful, but I do remember that when I got to my 40s, I made a deliberate decision to watch what I eat. What does that mean? I made a decision to eat like the African that I am. Because I wondered how my grandmother and mom had managed going the various stages of life, and women like them. When there were no nutritionists, there were no doctors, to tell you how to navigate different phases. So I started eating like an African. And eating like an African for a woman is eating like somebody who has delivered. What does a Kikuyu woman eat when they deliver? They eat njahe.
Jahe, yes.
They eat all the beans, starting with the njahe, the mbaazi, all those things. So I started deliberately going back to those foods. Yeah? The marigo, all those things. So that to recharge my body, to give my body strength. They talk of bone thinning and all that as you age, hair and all that. So greens, eating all those things that our grannies ate. And I do not know whether that's what helped me to have not a rough time at all through menopause and all those things. And also to remain, although I sometimes go to the doctor, the last time I had a bone density test, they still asked me to improve on my calcium and on my vitamin was it D and C? But it's not for want of trying. It means if I had not made that deliberate effort, I would have been somewhere very far. The foods we ate as Africans took care of all those. But now, what we are eating is not good for us. Rice is not a food. What makes it a food, unless if you eat brown, it's the accompaniments, the greens, the what. But you see, because of sometimes poverty, people may not be able to get enough greens. Ugali, especially of the sifted maize meal, is not a food. But ugali of the unga you siaga at home, that is food. So unless there are accompaniments, we are denying our bodies the strength we need as we age. And I think I've not fared on very badly. I do have the issues every aging person have. Knee pains, shoulder pains. I've been able to manage them with exercise. My mother, although now she works, and women in the village don't need exercise. Why? Their life is an exercise. Whether she has somebody assisting her in the house or not, at 87 she'll be all over, cooking, cleaning, doing all those things, alongside whoever is assisting her. That is exercise. Here in town, we just sit pretty. Someone else is doing the work. We are killing ourselves. We need to be more active in our homes, active by exercising, and that will put us in good stead. So I know that exercise is a life-saving whatever, and I try my best to do all those things. So that is the self-care. It's not just about what lotion you're using, what face cream you're using. The first self-care, me time, because the soul, the mind, that's the first self-care. And then you come to those other things. I drink a lot of water. I learned that as you age, they call the aging process in Kikuyu, kuniara, drying up. Which means the body needs more water because you're drying up. So you got to rehydrate the body. And I try to do all those things.
I love that. I will remember kuniara. Excuse me.
And you can see my hair had begun to thin because of palm. But when I did sister locks, and I don't use any oil, just water and a little henna to take care of the white. And the body came back. The hair just sprang back. So self-care. And care yourself for yourself as an African. It helps.
I love that. I feel that you're taking us back to our roots, and there was so much beauty in that with our food, with how we take care of ourselves. I really appreciate that. Even as a woman who's in my middle age now, and being more intentional with how we live. What would you say has kept you grounded, especially, just going through tough times, navigating different seasons in your life? What keeps you grounded?
I think we get grounded by focusing on your goal. If your goal is to make a difference, if you don't succeed in one thing, there'll still be another path you can do. If I am not in an elected position, there's still something I can do. I can offer leadership, even if I'm not getting a salary for it, because I'm working for my country.
Yes.
And I think I've been out of any elected office since 2013. My voice has not diminished.
No.
I have not stopped working and helping improve my country. My voice has remained because my focus is what difference can I make in my country.
Right.
Yeah, it's not just about a job and perks. It's about making a difference. And I believe there are 1,001 ways where each one of us can make a difference.
Yeah.
And I'm always thinking, integrity of elections. It is not just the man who chairs the commission. It's not just a Chebukati. It's everybody put together, from that clerk to you, who is likely to violate the rules by bribing people on the whatever. Yeah. What if we all made a conscious decision that we are going to have election integrity in Kenya? And I think we did that in 2002. Even though the KANU regime still tried to manipulate. The manipulation was minimal. Why? A majority of Kenyans had made a decision to stand up for integrity of the electoral system. We will need to do that because no amount of change of laws, no amount of changing commissioners and bringing new ones, they'll still be compromised.
Yes.
But if a majority stand up for the right thing, we can overcome, even without any change of laws.
Correct.
We can overcome even the worst dictators. And I think we need to ask ourselves as Kenya, what difference, what role shall you play to make your living environment better? We are all complaining about the economic conditions. We are all complaining about health services. With the shift share, we don't know where it's taking us. We are complaining about corruption, the cancer of corruption. Our airport was almost going through a very opaque deal. Thank God for the efforts, collective efforts of many Kenyans, and the fact that a thief has 40 days, because if Kenya was not willing to examine Adani, the Americans did.
Yes.
Our courts also held the deal back. Because if it was not for the courts, the American indictment would have found him already occupying JKA.
Yeah.
So it's a collective effort of Kenyans. Wherever you sit, because it's not a person in office who revealed the deal first. It's, I was seeing on Twitter, it was Amenya.
Yes.
And, just blowing the whistle, and then all the others who have taken up and supported.
Yes.
It's a collective effort of Kenyans.
Yeah.
So there's something you can do. Stop just complaining. And if you can do nothing else, then pray. Because when you pray, genuine prayers, you are actually sending vibes that strengthen others. You are changing something by those positive vibes. Let us all do what you can do. And we shall collectively make this place a better place for everyone. And we'll be able to help our children and all of us to develop our full potential.
Yeah. I really love that collective integrity, and just realizing that every one of us have a role to play in having the country that we want. Martha, about a week ago, you launched a beautiful book, Against the Tide. Nick, make sure you get a good shot of that book, okay? You got it? Okay, good. Against the Tide by Martha Karua. Tell us about this book, because we've also talked about self-care, and you mentioned, get a book and read, and this is a good book for us to get a hold of and read. Tell us about this book. What can we find in this?
I think you will find the authentic me, because public figures are depicted by the media only snippets of when people are at work. So you'll not see all the faces. Everybody has different faces.
Yeah.
And I keep telling people, the face you wear to a funeral is not the same face you wear to a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
When you are with your friends, it's not the same as when you are in office with your boss.
Correct.
And perhaps people you don't know. Your face at work may not be your face at home.
Yeah.
So you journey with me in this book, you will get to know me better.
Yes.
You'll get to interact with the many faces of me and perhaps understand me better.
Yes.
You will also learn things that you may resonate with. You will see areas, mistakes you can avoid. It's a sharing of experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we all learn through shared experience.
Yes.
The many people who have asked for mentorship in politics from me, here I'll mentor you without even having to be near.
Yes.
Because mentorship is through instruction and interaction, just like learning in school. You can interact with me in this book and you share my journey because my political journey is there.
Okay.
The only thing I didn't write about was the 2022 elections. I intend to write a separate book on that. The 2022 elections found this book almost done, and I thought beginning now to write about the 2022 elections would not only overload this book, but would have delayed me. So I said, it goes as it is. 2022, I'm coming back.
Okay, we'll be ready for that as well.
Yeah.
Where can we get this book? Is it available in most of our bookstores?
Maybe by the end of the week, we'll be able to use the word most.
Okay.
But it's available at Nuria Books. At Village, there's a bookshop that is
Is it half-priced books?
Yeah.
I think the one next to CJ's?
Next to CJ's.
Yes.
I believe other bookshops will have the book maybe before the end of the week.
Yeah.
But we are also doing direct sales through Pambazuko Foundation. And anybody going to my Twitter profile, to Facebook and to Instagram will see the link for direct orders. And then the book is delivered.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. As we close, I know you've given a really good message to Kenyans in general, but I also want you to give a message to mothers who are listening to this podcast today. What is something that you would leave them with?
I think I already said motherhood is full-time.
Yeah.
But continue doing what you do. Because one thing about motherhood is that it's a common denominator. I see that woman struggling in the informal settlements of Nairobi, the woman in the posh estates of Nairobi, the woman in the rural areas. They have one thing in common: striving to do their best for their children, sacrificing their everything. That when that mother who doesn't have enough serves, she serves the children first.
Yes.
She may sleep hungry, but her children will be sleeping with something in their stomach.
Yeah.
They'll strive to clothe. Whether your child is wearing patches while the other one is wearing a new cloth, both will have single-mindedness of doing the best for their children.
Yeah.
Let us continue doing what we do for our children, but also remember that the environment in which you raise your children is dictated by the politics of the day. Let us also nurture this country. Nurture good leadership by electing people you know will work for you to improve education for your child, health, to even get jobs for the children you have educated with all your money and they cannot get an opportunity. Let us widen the opportunity by having better governance in this country.
Yeah.
So to all mothers, let's nurture our children, let's nurture Kenya. Kenya is the larger home for all of us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Finally.
Yes.
What's next for Martha Karua? Is there any new adventure in the horizon?
That question makes me ask, what next for Kenya? Because Martha Karua is a Kenyan.
Yeah.
And we must be asking ourselves, what next for Kenya? It's not so much for me as an individual.
Yeah.
It's for us collectively. unless we turn the tide in Kenya, we may all get swept away.
Right.
We need to push back this tide that is bringing misery to everyone.
Yeah.
And I, as a Kenyan, I'm willing to step up. I'm willing to offer leadership to ensure that this country, which is our common home, has better governance, and that everything that happens here happens for the benefit of all the people, not just a few.
Yeah.
So we have a duty to do as Kenyans, focusing on the good of the nation, not on any one individual.
Right.
And I've said before that, yes, I'll run for presidency. I'm aware there are many others running, and some with views similar to mine. I'm willing. After I'm saying grow your candidature, I'll grow mine.
Yes.
Let us keep collaborating, but towards the end, let us all come together, get one flag bearer. If we truly are working for Kenya, we will agree that Kenya is bigger than all of us. And it should not matter to me if another person becomes the flag bearer, not me, in order to save our country, in order to benefit our country. But for now, let's all grow. And let's, further down the stream, see who becomes that flag bearer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Honorable Martha Karua. It's been such a pleasure having you. Thank you for talking to us, walking us through motherhood, politics. And when part 2 comes out, we hope to have another conversation. Asante sana.
I'll be available. Thank you. I've loved your podcast.
Thank you.
The easy manner. I mean, I felt like we are conversing in my house.
Oh,
so
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll be back when you need me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Mm-hmm.